Hello and welcome to the Pick Six Podcast. Katie Mox and Will Brinson here, joined by our Pick Show squad, Emory Hunt of Sportsline and also Alex Selelnick, aka Propstarz. He was feeling under the weather last Monday, but he's doing better. We saw him on Thursday as well. This episode of the Pick Six Podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. The last episode, the Super Friends talked about week 15 of the NFL season. Breach, Wilson, and Brinson did a heat check on the smoking hot Bills and presented the MVP cases for Lamar Jackson and Brock Purdy. Absolutely love to see that. You can watch that episode on our YouTube channel or the audio version, wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, feel free to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss another episode. It's time now to look at the early lines and leans for week 16 of the NFL. We could take a look at some of these macro trends quickly. Home 7-4 against the spread. Favorites also 7-4 against the spread. Home favorites dominated 5-2 against the spread. That seems to be the trend over the last few weeks. And the unders. It's been the year of the unders, 8-3 so far. Emory, any overarching thoughts on week 15?
Unders probably hit due to a lot of the backup quarterbacks that we're seeing.
Well, yeah.
I think that would be the overarching thought for me from why we see so much unders.
Does your brain have thoughts?
No, I was about to say, I don't know if I was caught between thought or
is that a brain fart?
I actually think that I don't know why we hadn't thought of that before now, but that makes a ton of sense. That's the reason why the unders have been so prevalent this year. Is, I mean, we're at 19 different teams that had played a backup quarterback extensively already, and now you have teams like the Steelers who are going to start Mason Rudolph the rest of the year. You have the Commanders who benched Sam Howell. Like it's his fault. I mean, it's like it is his fault. NC State's better than Carolina, and Jacoby Brissett proved that immediately. But I thought I think that there's a good case to be made that unders have been hitting so aggressively because of all of these backup quarterbacks, and how even like Vegas isn't really fully able to price down the lack of points that are going to be scored as a result of having. And then they'll get burnt where it'll be like Jake Browning against Nick Mullins, light it up.
Overtime.
They just don't even know what to do.
Yeah, well, and the thing is too is that oh man, I had a thought. It my brain just missed what I was wanting to say. But I do want to ask you, Propstarz, quickly. More injuries happened this weekend. Probably the biggest one, Keaton Mitchell, out for the Ravens. What has the prop market been looking like with all of these injuries that have happened this season?
Yeah, honestly, it's sort of bittersweet, but these injuries kind of provide a lot of additional opportunities where the sports books really don't know how to project their backups' stats. So while you hate to see it in real life as a prop bettor, those are certainly spots that I look to take advantage of and I think are quite profitable this season and historically as well.
My thought just came back to me. I was going to say for tonight's game, it's we're not going to talk about it on the show, but Monday Night Football between the Eagles and the Seahawks, both quarterbacks listed as questionable. So we don't know if we're going to get Jalen Hurts or Marcus Mariota. We don't know if we're going to get Geno Smith or Drew Lock. So it's so hard to price these, to bet these games, and certainly for the books to figure out how many points are going to be scored and what everyone is going to look like. On that note, let's go ahead and get into this week's games. Starting with Thursday Night Football, the Saints at the Rams. Rams are laying 4. This total 44.5. Saints coming off a 24-6 win against the New York Giants. I've got egg on my face because I took the Giants and Tommy DeVito, and it seems like that story has come to an end. Rams appear to be, all the way back. They are just firing on all cylinders. They're coming off a 28-20 win over the Commanders. Both of these teams 7-7 on the season. The winner of this game would get a really big boost in the playoff race. Emory, what are you thinking about this matchup?
I'll be interested to see how often the Saints blitz or pressure Matt Stafford or try to pressure the ball in terms of playing man on these wide receivers. That's what they love to do. But it's going to leave yourself susceptible to a lot of crossing routes and things that Stafford and the Rams like to complete. But the Rams are the better team on both sides of the ball. They're much more balanced on offense, and you can trust Stafford more than you can trust Carr. Carr is going to be in trouble in this ball game. I think the Rams win this one easily, so I would lay these points with Los Angeles.
Yeah, I would lay the points with Los Angeles as well.
sorry. I was going to say Matt Stafford is pretty elite against the blitz. Is when you don't blitz him, that's where you can kind of get him to have problems. Sorry, Brinson.
No, you're fine. Worth noting that according to the Upshot, Saints, if they win, 79% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose, 26% chance to make the playoffs. Rams even steeper, 74% if they win, 12% if they lose. This is a de facto play-in game for the NFC side of the playoffs. You want to put, it's nut cutting time, right? I mean, pardon my French. I don't even know if that's like inappropriate or not. But like you're laying the cards on the table. And if you're laying the cards on the table, I'll take Matthew Stafford over Derek Carr all day long and actually 7 times on Sunday. I mean, Derek Carr is like, will not stop leaking out how injured he is and how banged up he is, but he won't step aside for Jameis Winston, even though it would probably behoove the team. The last 2 weeks of the Saints, they've blown out the Panthers and the Giants. I think that's what's keeping this line in check at only 4. Because people are seeing what the Saints are doing. The Giants were right there in that game. Like the Saints were not blowing them out. The Panthers were right there in that game. They just are terrible teams. And I think it's really worth it noting, Nick Underhill pointed this out on Twitter yesterday, right when the game started, that Dennis Allen, for the first time in the history of as far back as in the history of the, not about the history of the Superdome, since they've been doing this since like well before Sean Payton, they did not introduce Dennis Allen with the team. They always introduced the coach after they introduced the entire team. They did not do that. I think they don't want people to boo because they hate Dennis Allen, and I think there's a good chance Dennis Allen gets fired. And Sean McVay, you talk about a difference, a gap in like coaching acumen.
Oh yeah.
It's somehow bigger than the gap in the quarterback talent between Stafford and Carr. So give me the Rams as a best bet early on, over trending upwards a little bit too.
One name I wanted to mention quickly, Kyron Williams continues to have a phenomenal season. We talked about his combination line being 121.5 last week and how massive that was. Goes for $150 on the ground. He has played phenomenal. He's averaging over 100 scrimmage yards, rushing and receiving per game in this Rams rushing attack. They're the most balanced team in football right now, frankly, offensively. So I was very impressed. I think they roll on the Saints here as well.
Yeah, and on Kyron Williams too.
Yeah,
Cooper Kupp looked back. Demarcus Robinson playing really good football. They got a ton of weapons there, and Tutu Atwell could come back. I think the other thing about Kyron Williams is worth noting there. He fumbled twice. And he fumbled twice and still kept getting the rock. Now, they did give it to Royce Freeman a couple of times in the red zone, but it was like a Royce Freeman drive. So I wouldn't read – that was before the fumble, so I wouldn't read too much into that. Sean McVay loves this guy. You fumble twice in a game and still keep getting carries in like a 2-score game, your role is untouchable. It is elite. This guy is he's winning some.
Reason why is going back to my scouting report on him, he was the best in pass pro in the country. So you kind of want to leave him out there because he's your best pass protector for Matt Stafford. And so you could, to your point, he could afford a couple of fumbles. If this was anybody else,
that's a great point.
In pass pro, they would have been out of there.
Yeah, the fact that you know he can be out there because if Matthew Stafford gets hurt, this team is trash. Stafford should get one of those MVP votes, by the way.
I was going to say, where is it? It's coming.
if you believe the MVP.
If you had a vote, Brinson, we know where that vote would go.
Yeah, actually, I'm about to email Jared Dubin and be like, change my 5th pick from McCaffrey to Stafford. Purdy got my 2nd place vote. Don't worry about it, Katie. All right, moving along. The Bengals had the Steelers. I give it to Lamar. Bengals had the Steelers. Bengals -2.5. Total of 38.5. Backups versus backups to backups. That's right. We got a backup in Jake Browning laying 2.5 at Pittsburgh against Mason Rudolph, who Mike Tomlin announced would be the starter on Monday. Mitchell Trubisky benched for all eternity, just like any good Carolina quarterback should be. Look, I think
lay the points.
Yeah, I think I'd lay the points. The Pittsburgh Steelers are terrible.
They're going to have their first losing season. I think it's actually happening.
I threw out last night to Ryan Wilson, could you see Mike Tomlin going to the Chargers? And he correctly, and I wouldn't say that Tomlin's at fault here, just that is it? I don't know, man. Like the last 5 seasons, I think one season with more than 10 wins
is a C. 50% is a C. He's been a C for quite some time.
Tomlin's a Hall of Fame coach, I think. the coaching. Well, they're weird. I mean, Mike Shanahan's not in the Hall of Fame. He's got 2 Super Bowls. Like the Hall of Fame is weird when it comes to coaches. So that's right. Harry points out. Ben Selelnick had a great tweet.
It's the season.
Let me. I'll find it where you. Any thoughts on this?
Where you go? I'll say this: like what the Chargers need, and this is not a Chargers segment, but what the Chargers need is someone that has great leadership. That's
Culture.
Tomlin, and so people get. I think a lot of people. I don't know why this has become a thing where football Twitter has become enamored with aesthetics of coaches that kind of look like themselves. Kind of demure personality. They wear the Steve Jobs long sleeve, and they call plays, right? They're gurus. No, you need a coach that can delegate, that can hire assistants, that can let those guys do the job. We don't know what Mike Tomlin's X's and O's is. Yeah, he's a defensive guy, but he played receiver in college, right? We know he's a great leader of men. That's what the Chargers need because the talent is there. And because of that, they're going to have a fighting chance in this ball game. The Steelers will. But because Cincinnati has better quarterback play and a better passing game, even if they may be without Jamar Chase, I'm still comfortable with taking the Bengals here on the road.
Yeah. Jake Browning is like Purdy 2.0. I mean, he's been balling out.
I've been so impressed with Jake Browning, honestly. 3 consecutive wins now for the Bengals, 9 touchdowns to 3 interceptions as well. He's spreading the ball around. His completion percentage is up over close to 75%, over a pretty hefty chunk of a sample size as well. Really doesn't matter who's at receiver for this Bengals, in my opinion. He is locked in, playing some really, really good football for Cincinnati. So nice to see Jake Browning having a great year and pushing the Bengals into potential playoff contention.
How stoked is Breach on Browning?
Here's the Ben Selelnick tweet that I was referencing. He quote tweeted Adam Schefter's report, or Adam Schefter tweeting about Mason Rudolph. He said sources say that upon hearing the news, the locker room shouted out with glee. One player told Rudolph he'd, quote, go down in history.
Oh, well, hopefully all the other reindeer will be nicer to him. Okay, so moving on. Bills laying 11.5 right now at the Chargers. Guys, this line opened up at like 13.5 or 14 after the Bills absolutely demolished the Dallas Cowboys. However, it was quickly back down to 11.5. Right now, 93% of early money, 86% of tickets on the Chargers. So I think that's why this line has dipped down too much. The Bills are a great team, and Josh Allen is firmly now in the MVP conversation. If he can continue to ball out and somehow they win their division, I think that he's a dark horse.
He's got a chance.
In terms of the odds, I think he's a good dark horse for this. That said, they have been a very volatile team, totally up and down, which as the Chargers are as well, but 2 touchdowns is a lot. So I'm not surprised that this has dropped down to 11.5. Brinson, what are your thoughts on this one?
What did you say? It opened at 14 and then it got back down. 14 is a lot of points. I mean, I think the thing is if you like the Bills, you can probably just wait. And it looks like it was juiced up to 11.5, and it could creep down to like 10 or so. I mean, the Chargers are still a talented team without Justin Herbert. I think the Bills are going to blow them out. I do think there's a natural letdown spot here for Buffalo because, and this is what worries me a little bit about the Bills. Said this a couple weeks ago that I thought the Bills would make the playoffs, and I thought the Bills were that Josh Allen was a good bet to win the Super Bowl. I think they're a good bet to win the Super Bowl. I think he's a good bet to win MVP just because of the odds and because narrative and recency bias of the voters. They snuck by Kansas City and blew out Dallas, and they have been in playoff mode for the last 2 weeks. I wonder if there isn't a little bit of a natural inclination to sort of take all right, we just got to beat the Chargers and the Pats, and we are playing Miami for definitely a playoff spot and maybe the division title. Also, as you know, the Chargers fired their coach, which means
finally
cover your ears, Propstarz. Dead cat bounce. It's a dead cat bounce game. Look, when you see this, you get great energy from teams when they fire their coaches the following game because they're going up against. Everyone realizes that they might get fired. They don't care who they're playing against. They're going to come out there and play hard. So I think you'll get maximum effort from the Chargers. I don't think it matters. I do think the Chargers could sneak in through the back door. We saw the Cowboys score a late one last on Sunday afternoon. And so because the spread is so big, maybe they sneak through the back door. But Buffalo, if they're a playoff team, they have to come out here and be focused and blow this Chargers team out. This should be a big-time Bills home game, too, because you're going to get tons of Bills fans who are actually enthralled about seeing the team out there in Los Angeles.
And while Josh Allen is rightfully getting a lot of credit, certainly, playing some very good football, and he is rightfully in the MVP conversation, James Cook has been absolutely phenomenal since Joe Brady has taken over play calling, averaging close to 150 scrimmage yards per game. Really, if you can recall, we were beating the drum for him to be on the field more. Clearly their most explosive option, the corpse of Latavius Murray, and Leonard Fournette even were getting potentially going to play over James Cook. Made absolutely zero sense to me. So great to see him finally shining. Very talented 3-down back, making a big impact as a rusher and a receiver. And he has been, I think, a big part of this Bills offensive success. We've been a lot more conservative under Joe Brady, and he has been the focal point of the offense. I think that continues in this matchup against the Chargers.
Emory, can you trust Josh Allen with this big of a spread?
Yeah, and I mean, all you guys are making great points. You talk about that, post-firing bump. I think that's going to show itself on the side of the ball that has the most talent, which is defense. So from that perspective, they actually athletically match up very well with Buffalo. So I can see this being one of those games where it's like, why hasn't Buffalo blown them out yet? And it goes that way until the third quarter. And sorry?
Like they're playing with their food.
Right. And so now you expand that lead in the end. So I do like Buffalo. I'm gonna lay these points, but I also like the under. So I think the Chargers defense will show us, especially coming off of a blowout. You got the dead cat bounce that you call it. You got all that stuff playing a factor here. You got guys that can get after the quarterback that can match up with Josh Allen's athleticism. That guys on the back end that if they can turn the ball over. Now, granted, they'll probably find 43 and throw his way. But for the most part, I think we'll see a competitive game up until the end where it starts to slip away from the Chargers.
Yeah, and I think, too, like you've got this major rest situation here, too, where the Chargers fire their coach, but they're on a mini bye having played Thursday. They got humiliated, giving up 63 points. They're not going to want to do it again. Bills played late on Sunday afternoon against they put everything into that game against Dallas. That was their season on the line. Win the game, and now you're going to travel from Buffalo all the way across the country to LA. So I mean, like that stuff does factor in when you're talking about, like, if this were a 2-point spread, hammer the Bills all day, even with Justin Herbert, but like a 10-point spread, you got to be a little bit careful with it, I think. Colts at the Falcons. Wait, is that Chargers Bills game on it's on Sunday, right? It's on Sunday, right?
I think so.
Yeah. There's got to be Saturday. There's Saturday games, right? Colts at the Falcons, not a Saturday game. It's a Sunday game. 1:01 p.m. according to FanDuel's sportsbook.fanduel.com. 1:01. Come on now. Falcons at home, pondering a quarterback change here. We may even get did I read that right? We might get Logan Whiteside. Like Arthur Smith is in a weird spot where he's considering Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder threw the worst pick of the season on Sunday against the Panthers. It's not even close. I mean, it's not close. Like, it was the worst pick of the 2023 NFL season. Your division's on the line, season's on the line. You're playing the worst team in football, and you throw rolling to your left into triple coverage with the only possible excuse for making the throw that, oops, I forgot the Panthers were wearing black today. Like, that's the only logical reason you can have for making that pass. Desmond Ridder did it anyway. I think the Colts should be favored here. I would guess Michael Pittman, DeMonte Casey suspended for the entire season for the hit on Michael Pittman. Obviously, Michael Pittman's health paramount. Some of us sort of wanted him to get a few more yards for our fantasy teams as well. Screw you, Casey. I'm glad you're gone. Bijan Robinson fumbles, doesn't get a bunch of touches. Nothing for Kyle Pitts, nothing for Drake London. Arthur Smith is the most hated man on the internet right now. I tend to want to go with the Falcons in a contrarian play here, Emory, but I don't know. I think I just take the Colts.
Colts are like the Browns, just find ways to keep winning. And again, they're playing like how the Rams are, well balanced. because they're running the ball extremely well without Jonathan Taylor. They're throwing the ball very well without, rookie Anthony Richardson. And defensively, they're getting after the quarterback. And unfortunately, this is a situation where on both sidelines, you see a coach that can coach. And on the other side, you see a guy that's in Arthur Smith that is probably best as an OC, but doesn't want to relinquish that duty, that role as a head coach, and can't delegate because he's so locked in the game, which is probably why they struggle offensively to get playmakers the ball, because they got talent. So I'm taking the Colts here. I think they'll, especially indoors, I think they'll take care of business and keep rolling, man. It's going to be the 9th win if they pull this off.
Credit to Shane Steichen. It doesn't matter who is playing quarterback, running back, wide receiver for this Colts team. They continue to produce very, very impressive job he's done offensively and defensively, that the team forces turnovers and they're just playing inspired football. So, yeah, the Colts are a handful. Absolutely. As far as the Falcons are concerned, obviously really frustrating with Arthur Smith, the usage of the players, quarterback situation in dire straits here. One thing I did want to point out, some positive news regarding Kyle Pitts. He's coming off of 3 games with 90% plus route participation, which is something that eluded him over the course of the entire year, which was inexplicable and head scratching. So at the very least, regardless of who's under center for Atlanta, Kyle Pitts, or Arthur Smith, has finally figured out to play Kyle Pitts on every single quarterback drop back. So that's something at least to pay attention to when props are released, and something I'll be looking at closely.
I like Arthur Smith, but man, like you shouldn't be a grown adult man. Now, granted, he does have an education from the University of Chapel Hill, so maybe that's his problem. But you really shouldn't be that hard to figure out how to play Kyle Pitts.
True. All right. Packers laying 4.5 at the Panthers. This total 36.5. The Packers have dropped the past 2 games. They've now fallen below 500, 2 games below 500, putting their postseason hopes on life support. The Panthers, as we just discussed, managed to win 9-7 over the Falcons in front of hundreds of their fans. Brinson broke down for us why no one would be at that game last week, and he was 100% correct. What was the attendance? 5,000 people?
5,200 is what the rumors that were being told to media members via people. It seems a bit like a stretch. I don't know if you saw the crowd shots. There are like shots where there's like hundreds of people in the stands like 20 minutes before the game. Not the worst. I mean, if you live in Charlotte, you live close to the stadium,
there were some
and you want to go
going on for under $1. They were like 52 cents to buy.
Tickets. Yeah, you can get like lower level club seats for $4. Sad state of affairs. I'm sure David Tepper will blame it on somebody else, and I wouldn't expect many people here for this game either. I would also think the Packers. Good spot here for the Packers. Panthers coming off a win. Everybody's going to think the Panthers can keep it close, and I think Green Bay could light up this Panthers defense pretty easily, and probably get after Bryce Young. I would lean towards the Packers here. I don't think the line is going to be going crazy then.
I feel like losing to the Giants kind of ruined the Packers season, because that kind of they let one loss become 2, because they went out there against the Bucs and they couldn't stop the Bucs throwing the football all over them, and so they don't have to worry about that with the Panthers. To your point, so I feel like they can get a bounce back here, a moral victory here, although they are completely out of the playoff race with those 2 back-to-back NFC losses. So I do like them to bounce back here. I will lay the points as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is a must-win for the Packers. So, it's like either you win, either you go to Carolina and you beat the worst team in football, or you're not going to the playoffs. Like, it's that simple. So, to me, if it's either lay the points or nothing.
Agreed.
All right. Next up, Browns at the Texans.
This one's tough.
Joe Flacco's not. This is easy. Joe Flacco's a dog. January Joe Flacco playing awesome football. 212 passing yards in the 4th quarter on Sunday after a terrible 3 quarters. I'm telling you, I think the Browns are live to get the 1 seed. You can do the playoff predictor math. It is not that outrageous for Cleveland to end up with the 1st overall seed in the AFC. And if it happens, or even if they don't, I just don't know that you want to give Joe Flacco. I don't know that you want to play Joe Flacco in January. I know he's 38. I know it's like 10 years after he made that incredible run to in New Orleans to win the Super Bowl with the Ravens. But like it's not like he's not that much different of a player. He's still got a cannon arm. He threw some dime. The pass to Mark Cooper was a dime. Like, he's still got the ability to throw. If they can protect him and play great defense, I don't think it's out of the realm of the possibility that the Browns get the 1 seed and make the Super Bowl. Now, having said that, they could get blown out by the Texans this week, and that wouldn't be that shocking.
He threw 3 picks yesterday, bro. We can't lose sight of that. One of them was a defensive touchdown, and so
nasty conditions. And it's only December. It's not January, Emory. January Joe, baby.
My thing is we gotta tell a full story. And so for the Texans, Katie just touched on, if Stroud is back, definitely changes the dynamic. Although Keenum showed some playoff Minnesota Keenum against the Titans. And their run game has been outstanding this year. They've been able to run the ball rather well. But to me, if they're going to beat the Browns, they need to be at full strength. And I would stay away from this until I find out if Stroud is going to be back, because Keenum, I don't feel like is going to beat.
I think the line tells us that Stroud is going to be back.
If he's back, then later for sure.
It would also be a big surprise too if he was out for another
week.
Yeah, like we haven't seen anybody miss multiple weeks of the concussion. So I think you can safely say CJ Stroud's back for this one. I'm just going to keep rolling with I'm going to roll with Joe Flacco. I think the Browns is a dog. You make Joe Flacco a dog, you're getting my
and take the over too.
Oh, the over. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm thinking the Texans have get it together with CJ Stroud. I know that they're banged up a lot with their pass catchers, which has been kind of depressing. But I don't know. I really believe in the CJ Stroud, so I like the Texan side of it. But we do need to take a quick break here. Stick around for our anticipation plays next, where we try to beat the line movement for Week 16. You're watching Pick 6. We'll be right back.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Welcome back to the Pick 6 podcast. It's that time again for our segment where we give you a bet that you should lock in early before the line moves to get some CLV, baby, closing line value. We'll also do you one better and try to predict where that line is going to go. It is time now for our anticipation plays. This anticipation plays segment is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Last week, I had the Broncos plus 3.5, said it would go closer to 3. Yikes galore on the Broncos. Got absolutely eaten alive by the Lions.
Yeah, same here with me. I feel like I thought the Lions would end up being underdogs, and that line actually jumped to 5.5.
Yeah.
You know, and so it went the other way, 1.5. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely whiffed on that one.
I said that the Texans were going to be in favor, but that was based on CJ Stroud coming back. And I said it would probably be Titans -3 if CJ Stroud did not play. He didn't play. It ultimately closed Titans -3. So I think I was right on my process on that one. But I mean, obviously the line didn't move the way that I thought it would. Emory, why don't you start us off this week?
I feel like the Rams are going to be close to a touchdown favorite over New Orleans by the time they kick off on Thursday. So going from 4, where we are now, to at least 6.5. I feel like that'll be a nice move in that direction, because nothing on the Saints side of things tells you that they're going to be able to keep pace with the Rams. You know, as long as 4 is back there at quarterback, that's an additional 2.5 points for the other team.
Propstarz, what are you thinking?
Alex?
Yeah, I like the Chargers Bills to go under. I know Emory mentioned when we covered this game, he liked the under as well, which I'd love to hear. But yeah, it's 42.5. I think this could ultimately settle at 41. The Easton Stick show again. I think we're going to see both offenses be conservative, run the football quite a bit. That's certainly been the case since Joe Brady has taken over play calling in Buffalo. So I think this game projects to potentially be a low-scoring environment, conservative play calling. I think both defenses will will play well in this game as well. We've really seen Buffalo's defense step up big despite all those significant injuries that they've suffered. And I do think that we see the Chargers defense rally a bit as well. And I'm not going to mention those dirty words regarding felines either.
I'm looking at the Bengals. We talked about this early. Line opened up at like 1.5 or 2. It's already 2.5. I think this could hit 3, possibly even 3.5. I just don't know what the Steelers could do. And I'm pretty impressed with Jake Browning. So I think that this line continues to go up. And so you might as well grab the Bengals now at -2.5.
I will say, I like that. I like that Bengals look. I will say that the Lions are currently -3, moved to 4.5, because I think the Lions are just going to be perceived as a team that indoors against Minnesota, even with all the blitzing. And Frank Ragnow came back and played like 12 hours after having served, like something ridiculous. Like he had like an insane like return from whatever his injury was. And I think this Lions protection matches up really well against the blitz that Brian Flores is going to bring, and it will allow Jared Goff, especially with Amon St. Brown and Sam Laporta, to really set up underneath those vacated spots with the blitzes. So I think Detroit could blow them out, and that line will be reflected as such.
And we've seen the Nick Mullins experience. There are highs and there are lows.
Yes. Okay. This Anticipation Play segment has been brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Speaking of the Lions, they are -3. Wow, that's convenient. I'd love to tell you I'm playing that. Oh, look at that. They're -122. How fortuitous. I could also see this game going, this total bumping up a little bit, because Nick Mullins did sling it around for better or for worse. And the Vikings could have, if I think, did Chris Rose say this in that game? He's like, if Nick Mullins wasn't genetically engineered to not score touchdowns in the red zone, the Vikings would have a bunch of points right now. Something like that. It was tough with his wife and child watching there in the stands.
Kept shooting over to him too. Yeah.
I know. And the Bengals fans just standing in their way. I think somebody came and said something like, hey, could you slide over just a little bit? We want to get a crowd shot of the wife. Lions 10-4 now in the season, 9-5 against the spread. They've been a covering machine for the last 2 years. And I think they cover here as well. Obviously, I think the line's going to move up. I think you should go ahead and lock in the Lions -3. I think they blow out the Vikings twice the rest of the way home, and maybe beat the Cowboys and maybe threaten for the 1 seed in the NFC.
I'm like a Lions mush. Every time I back them or I back Jared Goff to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns, it never hits. So I'm just laying off Lions games at this point.
I'm gonna lay these points to the Lions. I don't trust Nick Mullins. You talk about Ritter's bad interception. I mean, his interception had to be like at least 1B, because he threw it right to BJ Hill as he was trying to throw it away.
That was bad.
Yeah,
shout out BJ Hill.
I just don't understand the panic in these coaches. You go from Dobbs to first you go to Hall. Hall gets hurt. You go to Dobbs when Mullins was right there. I think Mullins was still working through an injury. Then you bypass Hall, who's been healthy for a couple of weeks, to go to Mullins, and you still end up turning the ball over a lot. So I don't know. I think he panicked, and I think that's going to cause him to get blown out in this ball game, like you say.
Yeah, with that shot of him looking despondent on the bench after that as they're losing the game. I know that look all too well. Moving on, the Commanders at the Jets. I don't know why the Jets are favored in this game, considering we just saw them get blown out by Miami.
Commanders are pretty bad. The Commanders literally quit in that game.
Put up 20.
Ron Rivera quit. They were down 2 scores. And he was run. He wasn't. They weren't moving quickly on the note. They are phoning in the rest of the season. I think that's why. Like
but the Jets
they could
well.
They could. Yeah, but the Jets are trying, and like the Jets are like the Jet. Everyone knows everybody in Washington is getting fired. I might make the Jets the best bet here. Honestly, like I think you can go and get it. Even
with the Jets,
huh?
You're laying
the Commanders. Commanders can't stop anybody at all. Sam Howell. They can't protect Sam Howell at all. The Jets have been much better at home. Jets should get after them and should sack Sam Howell a bunch. Pick 6 is in play here for sure. And I just think they're the better team right now, even if Zach Wilson isn't, I'd take Sam Howell over Zach Wilson, assuming I think Sam Howell's going to start. The Commanders are phoning in the rest of the season.
I mean, I heard he got benched. I heard it was his wrist. I heard it was dehydration. Like, what is going on with Zach
Could be a
Wilson?
concussion. Yeah, he's evaluated for. It's all kinds of weird stuff.
That's why I like the Commanders.
What's that?
I like the Commanders here. I think I even tweeted out during the game. The Commanders got down to the 1 yard line with like 4.5 minutes left, and was still at the 1 yard line with like under 2 minutes. Like, yo, what are you guys doing? Like, y'all went 3 minutes, at the 1 yard line. Like, so I think this game, Jets offense just cannot get out their own way. If they're going to score, touchdowns are going to have to come with the run game, and that could be possible with what we saw last weekend against the Rams and Washington not being able to stop the run. But man, if Trevor Siemian is starting in this ball game, I can take Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett over Trevor Siemian. He is not what's going to happen in this game. So I like the Commanders, and I like the under.
All right, little showdown or whatever the music is.
It's gonna be a showdown.
Yeah.
Shout out to our friends at the Early Edge.
Yeah. Is Commanders Jets on Thursday? Thursday? I don't know. Seahawks at the Titans. Seahawks play tonight, of course. This is a Sunday game, 1:00. Titans lose in horrible fashion. You're up 2 scores. Oh my God. So apparently the guy, did we talk about the guy, the Circus Survivor thing? There were 13 teams left. Did we talk about this?
No.
And one guy like started a thing to get them. So the pot is $9.2 million. And yeah, for the winner, winner take all, $9.2 million. And this guy went to the group and was like, hey, let's pull out 400,000 now and play for 4 million. So 13 people. 12 13.
So there's 13 people left in the contest.
There were 13 people left. This guy starts the thing. He's
had
like,
the contact information of the other 12 people and said, "Let's all pull out 400,000."
Yeah, once you get that low, somebody can be the one to suggest a chop. This late in the season, $9.2 million on the line. So he's like, "Hey, do you guys want to pull out $400,000?" 12 of the 13 people agree to pull out the 400,000 apiece. Not 400,000 split 13 ways. 400,000 apiece.
And how much is it to enter $1,000 or what?
$1,000. So you're making 400x, and you're 12 of the 13 people agree to do it. And one guy said no. The guy who suggested, and this is via Joey Knish's Twitter feed, so I'm assuming it's true, but the guy, what's that? He got knocked out by the Titans. The Titans were up 2 scores against Case Keenum.
Cost himself $400,000.
So he got 0.
Good.
No, it wasn't the guy who said no. It was the guy who suggested the chop. How brutal is that?
Oh, I thought it was the guy that said no.
No. That would be funny. No, the guy who suggested the chop got knocked out immediately, got $0. He ain't. I mean, if I'm the guy who said no, I'm locking my door twice at night.
Yeah.
Anyway, Seahawks at the Titans. Titans lost in brutal fashion. The Seahawks are 2.5-point favorites. Well, on that note, we don't look. Frankly, we can just gloss over this one pretty quickly because we don't know what the status for Geno Smith is or what the status for Drew Lock is. These Seahawks are playing on Monday night.
Or if Will Levis is going to be playing.
Or if Will Levis is going to play. Yeah, this game is a total wild card. Let's just move on to the next game, which features 2 potential playoff teams, Katie.
Yes, the Jags and the Bucks. Really, really tight spread here. 1.5 favoring the Bucks here. This total 43.5. Trevor Lawrence was reported this morning in concussion protocol. He really hasn't looked the same since that high ankle sprain. Hasn't been playing as well. Now he's in the protocol. Typically that lasts about a week, so maybe we won't see him there, but we have seen, Brock Purdy, and there was somebody else that cleared within a week, right? There's one other quarterback that cleared earlier than a week, or maybe it was just Brock Purdy.
It was Brock. Derek Carr had 2 concussions.
Oh, Derek Carr. Well, yeah. I keep forgetting about Derek Carr. Emory, what are your early thoughts on this one? If the Jags have Trevor Lawrence or if they don't?
Well, let's operate if they don't, right? Because now you have to worry about CJ Beathard coming in, and if you're the Bucks, that means you're just gonna blitz him like crazy. And on the other side of things, Tampa, I like how Baker's throwing the ball over the middle of the field. play action passing game is happening. Rashad White starting to really become a thing. Good fluidity in how he runs the ball. They're getting the tight ends involved, and now they have the playoffs right there in their sights. They could see it. So I like the way that they're playing going into this ball game with or without Trevor. I like the Bucs here. I'm laying these this point and a half with Tampa.
I would.
I was going to say Rashad White's
points
like a fantasy superstar and a prop star, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. Making massive contributions as a receiver, really come on strong, running the football as well. Yeah, has been a big reason why the Bucs have been successful. Certainly been feeding him. He's taking advantage of a soft schedule, but certainly a welcome sight after the Bucs averaged 75 rushing yards per game last season, and also got off to a terrible start running the football.
Hadn't his usage is like as good as like Kyron or Kamara or anybody in the NFL, right? Yeah.
So. Yeah, he's been a fantasy plus over the past 5-6 weeks.
I like the Bucs as well too. I think Baker's playing good football. Jaguars are a bad defensive team. These wide receivers should light up the secondary, and Rashad White catching it. He got a deep touchdown pass too from Baker. I think Tampa is. I think Jacksonville is sort of confused and wobbly, as Pete Prisco likes to say, and you got this Bucs team that looks really, really confident right now. I could actually see this line getting it open Jaguars -2.5. It's now Bucs -1.5. Wouldn't be surprised if it got up to Bucs -3, honestly.
Jags are also really banged up offensively too. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones looks like he suffered a serious potential season-ending injury there as well. So Calvin Ridley and Evan Ingram, and not much left behind them.
All right. Let's take a break. When we come back, Cardinals, Bears, Cowboys, Dolphins, some big time. Well, okay, Cardinals, Bears isn't that great, but Cowboys, Dolphins, Patriots Broncos. What more could you possibly want? Next.
Are you using a plunger to unclog the shake machine, as in the same plunger we use to unclog the toilet?
No. We're going to be opening Mega Good Burgers in cities all over the world.
Whoa. Megacorp wants to replace everybody with robots. We got to do something. Here's your burger.
That's not soap, by the way. It's maple syrup.
Why?
Cardinals at the Bears. Bears -4.5, total of 44. Cardinals catching a little bit of juice. Thought the Cardinals did a pretty good job fighting against the 49ers. 49ers are just a truck stick right now. And Chicago,
they ran the ball pretty good in the first half.
Yeah, they did. I tell you what, though, you can't run the ball very well against Chicago. So I don't know, Emory. I think I would lean towards Oh man, that's 4.5 is a lot with the Bears right now, but I think I would lean towards the Bears because of the Bears defense, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I like the Bears here. I mean, you watched that game against the 49ers last week, and, you know, Trevarius Ward just was baiting Kyler Murray every deep throw, like thinking it's open, and I'm going to just, you know, rob the middle of the field and just take it back the other way. Bears do a great job of doing that as well, too. They are aggressive. They pressure the ball. They turn the ball over. And at some point, people will start to change from focusing on Justin Fields and focusing on Luke Getsy, because I felt like his play calling is what cost him the game on the back end. Got conservative, got really complacent. They really can't run the ball outside of Justin Fields creating opportunities for the backs. So I do like them here because of their defense and Fields the X factor of being someone that can just generate chunk plays on both sides of offense. I think he's going to be the difference maker here, and they cover.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Cowboys at the Dolphins. Very interesting matchup. Dolphins laying 1.5. This total is 51. Cowboys clinched a playoff spot, but really because they had a couple losses for the Packers. And
this is the fraud bowl.
Yeah.
Which one of these teams is more fraudulent?
Yeah.
Because the Cowboys can't win away from Dallas, and the Dolphins haven't beaten a single good team this year. I am sorry, producer Harry. I'm not trying to troll you. As far as you know. But like the Dolphins haven't beat anybody. Even the Broncos aren't. The Dolphins don't have a single win against a team that is above 500. Like
I will say,
I understand you blow out bad teams, and that's impressive, and it's really good. But you're not going to see a bunch of under 500 teams in the playoffs. Miami beat somebody. Dallas qualifies. Beat Dallas. Prove that you are worthy of whatever aspirations we have for you. In Dallas, you get blown out every time. Like, something has to give here. Dallas can't win on the road against good teams, and Miami can't beat a good team.
Harry says in the chat, Miami is good at home. Yeah, Dallas and Miami both very good at home. Not so much on the road. Tyreek Hill should be back. It seemed like he was going to play even this weekend. It smart of them to hold him back because they really didn't need him to win that game. Shout out to the Miami defense, though. 38 points in fantasy this week. Helped me win first round of the playoffs. Brinson and I had the Steelers and I was like, I don't know, Miami's available. What do you think? And he was like, absolutely. And so I went and did that, and I just crushed it this week.
Here are the Dolphins wins: the Chargers, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Giants.
The Broncos before they were a pretty good team.
But now the Broncos are 500. Yeah. Broncos were bad then. Yeah, they're 0-3. Yeah, 0-2. The Giants, the Panthers, the Patriots again, the Raiders coming off a bye, who they only beat by 7 at home, where they're very good apparently. The Jets, the Commanders, and the Jets again. That is a who's who of suck in the NFL this year. Here are the Dolphins' losses: the Bills, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Titans, and now they have the Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills left. If the Dolphins could miss the playoffs. I'm not even kidding. They haven't beaten a single good team this year, and they got to play 3 good teams down the stretch. Give me the Cowboys here.
I'm taking the Dolphins, and here's the reason why. And they still won't get credit after this game.
I'll take the over, by the way.
After they beat Dallas, they still won't get the credit, because where they're going to beat Dallas is where people will say, well, I mean, Dallas really can't stop the run anyway. Miami is going to run up and down the field against this defense. Mostert, you name it. Achane, Tyreek Hill on end arounds. Like, they're going to get everybody involved. Dallas wants to play north and south defensively. They want to fly up the field. When you're that aggressive, you leave yourself susceptible to misdirection. Counter plays and power plays were killing Dallas yesterday with Cook. You're gonna get all kind of misdirection and eye candy with Miami. They're gonna have so many open gaps. You saw how Miami really neutralized the Jets. Everything was outside in space. It wasn't really technically a design play. It's like, hey, let's just go out there 2 yards and we're just gonna dump your ball. It's spread out like a punt return, and you just use your speed. So they really calmed that pressure down from the Jets. Dallas is going to get eaten alive in this run game. The over is going to have to go, because it's going to have to be Prescott throwing to try to keep pace with Tua in this run game, or it's going to be Miami -7. Because I feel like they're just going to run away with this.
The over not hitting yesterday in the Cowboys Bills game is a shock. Like, the Bills got that early lead and they just locked them down. I do wonder how the Dolphins defense. I mean, I think the Dolphins defense has been better than people think. Bradley Chubb's having a great game.
And Dallas can't run the ball. They have 2 backs. Obviously, I think Rico Dowdle should be the lead guy to help get Pollard, going, in a reserve role. But they want to, they want to feature Pollard because they paid him, and that's not the case. This is going to have to be a Dak Prescott versus Tua Tagovailoa game. And Miami has the luxury of being able to play a well-balanced one. I think that's how they beat Dallas.
This is obviously way too early, but just worth noting. Currently tracking for 17 miles per hour worth of wind, and it's Miami, so like, let's not read too much into the weather. That they could change on the flip of a hat, but drop of a hat, flip of a. What am I talking about? Anyway, whatever. Moving along. The Patriots and Broncos. That's what I was going to say. Hats at the Broncos. Broncos -6 with a total of 34.5. The Broncos coming off an embarrassing beatdown in Detroit. Now get to host the Patriots, who hung around for a little bit against the Chiefs. Kind of hard not
out of playoff contention, right? Patriots out
of playoff contention. Belichick may fly out to Los Angeles before this game. I mean, I think he'll still coach it up, but it's hard to see him. It's hard to see this Pats team. It's the earliest they've been out of contention since his first year with the Pats, 2000. It's hard to see them getting up for this. First time losing 11 games since 2000. Just wild. So I don't know, man. I think this low total, you probably take the points, but the Broncos could snuff out this Patriots offense completely.
Who are we going to see? Bailey Zappi? Yeah.
Yeah, I like the under here. And yeah, if it's Zappi or Mac Jones, it's going to be pressure for both. Now, again, Zappi came out and threw like he was at Western Kentucky or Houston Christian against, Pittsburgh. But that was 2 games ago now. I just feel like there's no firepower for the Patriots, but I do like the Broncos defense. This game could be 13-3, honestly.
Zeke Elliott. He's like, they might be bad, but he's got an elite role, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does have an elite role, and he's being heavily utilized in the passing game as well. We just know there's just not a lot of passing options, explosive options, downfield options for this Patriots offense. Options, period, of any kind. So yeah, Zeke is sort of the best of the holdovers. He is obviously very good in pass protection still, so he is on the field quite a bit with Ramondre Stevenson. We saw Hunter Henry have a big game there, so potentially a little bit of value with Hunter Henry, especially if that Broncos pass rush is able to disrupt whoever is under center at quarterback for New England.
All right, next up, the Raiders at the Chiefs. Chiefs laying double digits, 10. This total, 43. Look, the Raiders are frisky. I don't know that I would lay 10 points with the Chiefs based on how they've been playing. Yes, they did cover fairly large spread this weekend, but you got Kadarius Toney dropping things again. Patrick Mahomes visibly upset on the sideline. I think he's had about as much as he can take with these pass catchers, not actually catching any passes. Look, I think the Chiefs win this game. They've got a real easy schedule coming out their last few weeks. They may just squeak into one of the top spots, if not the top spot, which is just crazy when you think about how they have played. But I don't know. I might roll the dice with the Raiders here to keep it within 10 points. Emery, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a measuring stick type game for Antonio Pierce. You saw him get the blowout win. You've seen his team rise to the occasion. This is, hey, we're tougher than them. They want to be a finesse team. This is what he's going to tell his team. They're finesse. They want to be cute and pretty. We're ugly. We're aggressive. We're Raiders. All that stuff that they're going to try to use to drum up the motivation. I like the under more than anything. I feel like the Raiders defense will just be game. They don't really fear Kansas City anymore. I think that's how they'll take advantage and keep this one.
Nobody fears Kansas City anymore.
No one.
I don't know what the.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I don't know what the record is offhand, but I do know the Chiefs have really struggled anytime they've been more than a touchdown favorite. So that's certainly concerning. And then it's finally happened, guys. Rashee Rice has emerged as that number 1 receiver in Kansas City. Great to see. Obviously, things aren't going well elsewhere offensively. Hopefully Isaiah Pacheco is back, although I do need to credit Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon, who've both stepped up, filled in fairly admirably. Certainly from a fantasy perspective, both backs have been adequate without Pacheco. So it does look like Pacheco will be back for this game. Should be a heavy, heavy dose of him.
Yeah, if you look at the last 2 times these teams matched up, Chiefs won by double digits. Just a couple weeks ago, Rashee Rice had a 100-yard game, and we saw Pacheco go for 2 touchdowns. I think I like the under 2. I think the Chiefs defense could really just squeeze the Raiders here. And you see a lot of running the football, like some Clyde Edwards-Helaire and some McKinnon in the second half as well. I think the under's a pretty good look as well. Giants and the Eagles. Eagles minus 10.5. That's your game. I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter. It's totally fine. I mean, obviously the Eagles are playing tonight. We'll have to see what they look like. This line could move quite a bit if somehow the Seattle Seahawks get a win, which for the record, I don't believe is happening. You guys know I have a double result on the Eagles tonight. I put that in.
I think the Eagles have trailed at halftime their last 6 games, and Jalen Hurts now sick as a dog.
It's you put these bets in on Thursday, and then all of a sudden, Sunday, it's like, oh, Jalen Hurts is sick and has been downgraded to questionable and not flying with the team. I still think the Eagles are the better team. The Giants are. Look, we had fun with Tommy DeVito, didn't we? It was so fun. It was great while it lasted. I don't know how many more. Did y'all see that? Like, he was supposed to go to some restaurant in New Jersey. He was charging $10,000, and then the agent, in his leprechaun suit that he wore in this last game, said actually it's $20,000 now after the win over the Packers. But then they get blown out by the Saints, and I wonder if he's ticked back down to $10,000 to show up at a restaurant in New Jersey. And I get it, like, get your money while you can, but on a small family-owned business to raise it to $10,000. And by the way, he's no longer coming there because they can't afford to pay him $20,000 to show up. But I'll be curious if the price has dropped. But I would lay off of this.
You get paid $10 an hour to work at this pizza joint after this season.
But I'm not doing anything with this game until I see what this Eagles team looks like tonight.
Man, this Eagles team could show up as is right now at 2:57 p.m. Eastern time.
True.
Off the Giants, like
True.
Lady points right now before it jumps up 2 touchdowns. We saw yesterday what happened with Tommy DeVito and what has happened every time he's been a starter versus a team that is not afraid to send pressure. He's going to eat sacks.
Sacks.
Yeah, he's going to eat sacks. And
like the chicken cutlets.
Right. They'll lean into that. He's
gonna hope he's gonna get invited maybe to a family-owned restaurant after the next couple of weeks.
You're gonna be dying for some marsala, Tommy.
There's no way the Giants offense as it is, you stop Saquon Barkley, you stop everything they want to do offensively. That's going to be the Eagles' game plan. They've done this before. They may win in a shutout fashion as well.
That's almost why I think the Eagles, it wouldn't be like that shocking if the Eagles didn't play Jalen Hurts tonight, just because they've clinched a playoff spot. They know they don't have the tiebreaker against the Niners, who have a friendly schedule going in, or they got to play the Ravens, but the Niners, right? I mean, the Niners have the Eagles are currently at a sub 20% chance to get the number 1 seed. So why put Jalen Hurts out there against the Seahawks on the road when he's sick as a dog, when you can just isolate him? You're still only up to 26% if you win that. But then it's you just have to you need the Ravens to beat the Niners. A lot of stuff has to happen for you to get the 1 seed. You're going to win the division. You just got to beat the Giants twice to win the division. And you don't. So again, they're going to stomp them. I think get the Giants now while you can. Speaking of the 49ers, the Niners Christmas night hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Niners minus 5.5. Line open at 4.5 and is climbing. Niners also getting juice here. Over under 45.5. Katie, your Niners, they've stomped some good teams. They stomped the Eagles. They stomped the Bills. They stomped the Cowboys.
We haven't played the Bills.
They haven't played the Bills. When they've had to show up, I mean, they're the best team in football, the most complete team in football. It's hard to really pick a nit when it comes to the 49ers.
I'm surprised by this 5.5. I thought that this line would be closer to the home field advantage, 3.5.
Dude, the Niners are stomping everybody.
I know, but the Ravens are a really good team, and this is probably one of the best. And look, the Eagles, when we matched up with them, they were primed for a letdown spot. I admit that. I understand that. And it seemed to be that the Cardinals could kind of run all over us in the first half, and that's where the Ravens really shine. So it'll be interesting. Look, I obviously think the Niners can win this game. I'm not going to lay the 5.5. Y'all know what I always do. We're finally back. We got over the 30.5 for the Niners team total. I don't know what it is for this game. I'll have to look at it. But this Ravens pass defense, this Ravens red zone defense is going to be a huge test for Brock Purdy. And look, if Purdy can ball out against the Ravens, then I think he really solidifies his MVP case. But I think a lot of it is hanging on this game and what he looks like against this very, very elite pass defense.
I think the rush defense is going to be the problem for San Francisco here. I like the Ravens on the money line. This is the spotlight game that the Ravens like. You talk about all the motivational things that they love to do. The Ravens, hey, they don't respect you. Lamar, this is your MVP to go win. And the real MVP is Christian McCaffrey. And 1B is Deebo Samuel. If we're being completely honest, those are the two MVPs of this team. I feel like the Ravens will make Brock Purdy beat them consistently throwing the ball. Now, it can be done because these Ravens don't really cover well, to be completely fair and honest. So there's going to be a lot of chunk plays. but I like the over also. In addition to the Ravens finding a way to win, so I think this will be a close game, but a higher scoring one. Come down to Justin Tucker as it always tends to do, but I like this over. I feel like this can get into the high 50s.
And by the way, this is the final game of the fantasy season for a lot of people too. Christmas night. I mean, I was texting my dad about it. He's like, one of us is going to be playing, like one of our cousins, and like going to be drinking some red wine on Christmas night. Going to be dealing with this game. It's like tensions might be high. Like, I mean, this would be awkward if you're in a family fantasy league and you're sitting at home with like head to head watching this game. I'm going to be friendly.
Christian McCaffrey might have 20 touchdowns running the ball this year. You know how insane that is?
It's crazy.
That's college.
Remember and Christmas Day too, by the way. Christmas Day is like, remember Alvin Kamara went for 6 rushing touchdowns that year on Christmas Day?
Yeah.
Like somebody on Christmas Day is going to have like and like if it were going to be somebody, it would be Christian McCaffrey.
So you got 4 MVP candidates in this game: McCaffrey, Purdy, Lamar, and obviously he's not going to win it, but Deebo Samuel is
Deebo's not an MVP candidate, but he's a monster. Yeah,
but he's a monster. So you got 4 spotlight guys in the biggest game on the biggest day.
If Deebo wasn't injured and missed a couple games this year, maybe he would, and he balled out like that in those 2 games.
He is the only one in the league that I feel like that people.
Deebo Samuel's I love Deebo Samuel.
Right,
Deebo
but it's not like a
MVP
Tyreek Hill.
candidate.
Do you think Tyreek Hill's in this conversation?
Tyreek Hill's not an MVP candidate. Jalen Waddle just put up like 160 yards without Tyreek Hill. Like, get out of here, Tyreek's offensive player of the year. It's over. But
Deebo's not an MVP candidate.
Yeah, like
well,
that's what we're doing.
Right,
I love Deebo Samuel's touches as much as Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown, and DK Metcalf. Like Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown, like were 2 of my favorite players, maybe my 2 favorite players in football, but no, not MVP candidate.
Okay. Well, on that note, not MVP. We are going to close the show. Make sure you join us all week long for more NFL coverage. Tomorrow, Brinson, Breach, and Wilson are joined by Pete Prisco to break down his weekly power rankings on CBSSports.com. And one last reminder to show us some love with a like or a comment. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube page if you're listening to the audio version only. Leave a 5-star review. Tell your friends to listen and watch the pod, and we'll see y'all later.